see that. Yeah, good. Yeah,
I'm
go.
going to start. Hello and welcome to Long Road Sixth Form College. My name is Steve Waugh. I'm the course leader for A-level maths and further maths, and in this presentation I'm just going to take you through a brief overview of how the course is organised. So I'd like to start by just introducing the team. So I'm one of four. So we've got myself, Steve, we've got Ed, we've got Wayne and Adriana. Wayne and Adriana are here tonight to answer your chat questions. So you can see on the photos on the left here, there's me on the top left and there's Adriana on the bottom right. Just to mention as well that we're using the EdXL specification. So you can see there the code 9FMO. So just a little bit about how the course is organised. So I think the first thing to start by saying is that the students here do the maths and the further maths as two parallel courses. So they start both courses at the start of year one. So they've got 4.5 hours for maths and 4.5 hours for further maths, 3 90-minute lessons a week for each. So we keep the students separated, so they're in a separate lesson for the further maths and they're also in a separate class for their maths as well. So that means that we can just push them on a little bit faster and a little bit more depth. So here I've just given you a little bit of detail about the content of the course. So 50% of further maths is compulsory. So that's different from maths where the whole 100% of the course is compulsory. So the compulsory part is the further pure. So you can see here there's a list of content which covers the whole 2-year course. So you've got complex numbers, lots of calculus, volumes of revolution, matrix method, transformation, proof, things like proof by induction, series sums, lots of vector work. So a lot of that is in the first year, and then in the second year you've got lots of complex numbers again, lots of calculus, things called polar coordinates, hyperbolic functions, which we're just doing at the moment, and then there's a big chunk of work on differential equations and modelling, which is really interesting. And I think that's perhaps one point to make, that actually the maths exams and the further maths exams, there's lots of modelling and lots of problem solving, and they can be really tricky questions. And that's something you've got to look forward to. Absolutely, the other thing that's worth mentioning here, there's not a lot of overlap, particularly in the first year, between what they do in maths and what they do in further maths. So all the material is just completely different, and that's one of the reasons why we like to start the course in the first year and do them both in parallel. It just means you get to see some really interesting material at a much earlier stage. So it's not like we do maths in year one and then further maths in year two. We do them both all the way through the course. Okay, so I said that some of the course is compulsory. The 50% of the course that's optional, we choose to do the further stats 1 and the further mechanics 1. There's lots of different options you could do, but we just feel those are the ones that suit our students, because lots of students like to do mechanics and lots of students like to do stats. So the stats is like more advanced probability theory. So we do random variables, and then they do the Poisson and the geometric distribution and some other ones as well. There's lots of hypothesis tests. They do things like the chi-squared, the central limit theorem, probability generating functions. It's all getting quite theoretical, and the power and size of a test. And then the mechanics part is just more advanced physics. So do lots of work on momentum and impulse, the work energy theorem, elastic collision, so that's the restitution. And then you've got potential and elastic potential energy. And then a really interesting and quite tricky part of the course is what they call oblique collisions between two spheres, and between spheres and walls, when there's lots of different things going on, and that can get really quite difficult. So it's a really interesting course. We teach the further stats in both year one and in year two, and we teach the mechanics in both year one and year two as well. So that gives you a nice overview of the course. Now let's talk a little bit about the exams. So at the end of the second year, they got 4 exams. There's 300 marks altogether. They got 2 pure papers, paper 1 and paper 2. and both of those two papers can assess the content from the whole 2-year course. So it's not like paper 1 is year 1 and paper 2 is year 2. It's not as easy as that, so they can answer absolutely anything on both those two papers. And then you've got paper 3 and paper 4, which are the options. In our case, paper 3 is the further stats 1, and paper 4 is the further mechanics 1. The reason why they've got a 1 there is because you can do further stats 1 and further stats 2. So you can do lots of extra stats or lots of extra mechanics, but those are the options that we choose to do. You can use calculators for all those exams, and as I said, each of those exams covers questions from the whole of the course, from the first and from the second year. So this next slide just explains a little bit about how further maths fits into the bigger programme. So it says there that students just do 3 A-levels. Well, students doing further maths, they normally do it as one of 4 subjects. So they're doing 4 A-levels, maths, further maths, plus 2 others. In exceptional circumstances, we will allow students to do further maths as one of 3 subjects. So you'd appreciate that if you're doing maths, further maths and 1 other, if you suddenly find that the further maths is a bit of a struggle and you can't continue, then you're not left with a programme. And that's the reason why students would normally do it as one of 4 subjects. Okay, you can also do A-levels with a mixture of applied courses, but if students are doing double maths, then they're going to be doing 4 A-levels with a few doing it as 3. Okay, perhaps the other thing I should mention here as well, that we do offer the option of doing an AS level in further maths in the second year. So we do find sometimes students who are not doing further maths to start, they finish the first year and they find they've really enjoyed the course and they're doing really well, and they might be looking at the UCAS application and they're seeing that it would help them if they had some experience of the extra maths. So we can put them as a second year student into a first year further maths group, and at the end of that first year they can do the exams for the AS level, and those exams still exist. And that just gives them 3 A-levels plus an AS level in further maths. So you get some extra UCAS points and you get the extra experience of doing the harder material. That can be really useful for students going off to do, for example, engineering. The other thing that's perhaps worth mentioning at this point is our further maths groups are relatively small, which means we can give the students lots of individual attention and lots of individual support. And that's really important because it's a very, very demanding course. But our students are very, very successful, and part of the reason for that is because they can get a full block of teaching time and lots of individual attention and feedback, and that's really, really important for them to be successful. Here's a little slide about some of the trips and workshops that we do. Obviously things are not really normal at the moment with COVID, but there's a nice photograph there on the right showing students doing what they call the Senior Maths Team Challenge. Now that's not taken place this year, but you normally get about 30 schools and colleges from the east of England all come into the maths department at Cambridge, and it's basically a competition for 3 hours doing maths with separate rounds, and at the end the top 3 teams go through to a national competition. Now our students really enjoy this, and you can see them working away there. They've recently done the Senior Maths Challenge, and they've just had the results today, and we'll be introducing you to one of the students who's got the highest grade in the department, and he's got himself a gold. He's got himself a gold, and he's going to be going on to the next round. We also have what they call the Maths Inspiration Talks, which have been happening recently. Those would normally take place at the university, but this year they're online, so there's been some interesting talks there. We're involved in the Advanced Maths Support programme. We'd like to take a group down to Royal Holloway College to get some lectures and experience of maths at university. That's not happened this year, but as soon as it does, we'll be starting that again. And we're also a member of what's called the CSAR, which is the Cambridge Society for the Application of Research. So that just gives students the opportunity to attend online lectures at the university. The other thing I should mention as well is the support that we offer. We have lots of support for the maths course, but we also make sure we don't neglect the further maths course, both the year ones and the year twos. We provide them with drop-in workshops, so a student can go and book themselves a slot, and that can happen to get help either at home via a Teams call, or they can come into college and get some help actually in person. We also have a dedicated support lesson each week for both the year one and the year two further maths course, just to consolidate the work that they're doing in class, and just to provide some extra help and just some extra practice time with the support of a teacher. So they're getting 4.5 hours of teaching plus an extra hour and a half on top of that of the support lesson. So just imagine you've got fairly small groups with lots and lots of support. That really does make a big difference. So this next slide is just a little bit about who the further maths course is aimed at. Further maths is a very, very challenging course, and it is designed for very able students. There's a little figure there that says less than 2% of all A-level candidates take further maths. So if you do that course, you are setting yourself apart as the elites. It's a very impressive qualification to get, especially if you end up with an A or an A-star grade, and it can open doors to the top universities, which might otherwise not be in reach. And it's not just for people who want to go off and do maths at university or sciences, although it can certainly help, because if you don't have the further maths course, it can be a real disadvantage, and actually you have to put a lot of extra work in the first year of the university degree to catch up for the work that you would have done at school. So you can see there at the bottom some examples of where our students went last year. So we had an A-star student who went off to do mechanical engineering at Imperial. We had an A-grade student that went off to do physics at Manchester. Some other students went off to do maths at York, computer science at Durham, biology at Nottingham, and medicine at Plymouth as well. So we really are able to cater for the whole range for students who are aspiring to go off to the Russell Group and do very sort of demanding courses. And we also support students to make sure they can get more modest grades in further maths as well and be successful. We sometimes even have students going off to do apprenticeship courses as well. So we're there to cater for everyone. I've got some profiles here, and we'll be talking to a couple of these students in a moment. We've got Max here, who's aiming for an A-star grade in his maths, and he wants to get A's in all his subjects. He wants to do a maths degree, perhaps with a year in industry. Not really sure what his future plans are, but he knows he's definitely got something to do with maths. We've also got Leon, one of our students, who wants to do a chemistry degree with the intention of going on to do some research in chemistry. Now, I know that chemistry is one of those degree courses where further maths can be a real big advantage, because there is lots of quite complicated maths that they've got to do. And rather than struggling to do it in the first year of the degree, do the further maths course, and it just makes it so much easier when you go on to the next level. Henry's another one of our recent students who we'll be talking to in a moment as well. He wants to do a maths degree, and he's aiming for an A or an A-star in his maths. He's not really quite sure what he wants to do in the future, but one plan perhaps is to do a master's degree in actuarial maths or financial maths. So you can see there we've got very high aspirational students. So I'm going to leave that slide up at the end when we've finished having a chat with the students. We've got some members of staff with us here who will be available to take your chat questions. But what I'm going to do now is just going to put Henry up, and then we'll have a chat with Max as well in a moment. So I'm just going to let's make sure we do this properly. I've got to stop sharing that. And I'm going to click on there, and Henry. There's Henry come. We're going to send Henry live. There's Henry. Hi, Henry. Would you like to introduce yourself? Just tell us which school you went to, which subjects you're studying, and which year group you're in.
I'm Henry. I went to Cotton Village College. I'm in my second year at Long Road, and I study maths, further maths, physics, and biology.
Okay. So why did you choose to come and study at Long Road, and why did you want to do further maths in particular?
I had older friends who went to Long Road and who also did further maths and said that you got a lot of support to help you get the best grade possible.
Right.
So,
Okay. And just tell us a little bit about the independent work that you have to do. How much is there, independent work, homework, and how does it help your learning?
you get a homework every week, and in terms of independent work, you need to be constantly working through past questions to understand the topic. There's probably as much work outside of college as inside of college.
Right. So how many hours a week would you say you were doing outside of class?
Probably 5 minimum.
5 hours of work a week on your further maths. So it's when you're doing 4 subjects, it's a big commitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but for those students who are prepared to work hard, it can be really, really rewarding as well. Okay, great. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about the plans that you've got for the future once you leave college?
I'm not really sure exactly where I want to go, but I know I want to do a maths degree. Apart from that, I really don't know where I'm going to go after that.
Right. So the more maths you do at school, the better for the future, and just keeping your options open. Okay, that's great. One thing I'd like to say while Henry's on the screen is that this young man has done extremely well in the senior maths challenge. He's got himself a gold, and he's going through to the next kangaroo round. So you got a score of 106 out of 125, which is really fabulous. So I just wanted to say great and well done, young man. Okay, so I'm gonna now swap over to Max. Just takes a second. So Max is now live. Hi Max, would you like to just introduce yourself, which school you went to, which year group you're in, and the subjects that you're studying?
So I'm Max. I went to Bassingbourne Village College and I'm studying double maths, physics and economics. Yeah.
Okay. And why did you choose to come and study here at Long Road, and why particularly the further maths?
So I chose Long Road really because I thought that the way they taught all the subjects and their way about teaching was much more helpful towards the students and much more inclusive. I felt like I just get the best out of my education personally if I came to Long Road. So I thought that I'd get the most help here, really.
Right. Okay then. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch back to Henry and ask him some more. Well, actually, no, I'm confusing myself because I've already asked Henry his detailed questions, haven't I? So let's ask you some more detailed questions as well. Just tell us a little bit about what your favourite thing is about studying your further maths.
So I'd say my favourite thing about maths is kind of all the new ideas and theories that you learn that you really don't get in any other subject, even maths. It's just a completely new subject. And for example, complex numbers, the thing you study at the start of year 1, is something you'd never even have thought about before you came and did further maths. I just think that's really interesting. Well, I think it's probably the best course.
Right.
It really opens your eyes to new concepts.
Right. So was that one of the nice things that you could start that so early, rather than doing all the maths in year 1 and then having to wait till the second year? You could do something really different right at the start.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you find that was particularly hard to do that so early in the course, or was it easy to adapt to that demanding level?
I thought it was easier to have done it at the start of the course because, if we'd have done it after year 2, we'd just be cramming everything in. I think it's much better to have spaced out our learnings over a much longer period than they do at other schools.
Right. So you can just do it in more depth and so on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, great. So would you like to tell us about how, and we've already touched on this, I guess, about how hard the further maths is and in comparison with your other subjects, and how demanding in terms of time?
Yeah. So I think it's probably the hardest course you're going to be able to do at Long Road. I think it's certainly the most challenging because of, as I said earlier, it's all the new ideas and new concepts that you've never seen before. It really makes the course, well, one of the most difficult courses at Long Road. And in terms of the work work, therefore you have to put in a lot more hours for this course. Well, I do personally, I put in a lot more hours for further maths than I do for any of my other subjects. I think.
Okay, would you like to tell us a little bit about how the course is structured and how the support works? So thinking about all the classwork you have to do and how things are organised and how we're supported if things get a little bit tough and stuff.
Yeah, so we have we have many ways that we can learn the course. We have textbooks that the exam board provide for us, and we also have booklets that the teachers give us, and it gives us a really wide range of perspectives to look at the course from, so we can see, you know, all of the course in a lot more detail than you would have been able to otherwise. So when you're going through the course, you do lots of practice questions and everything, and it really clears up any questions you might have about the course. You know?
Right. And how would you find the homework as well, and sort of how that's managed, and how it helps to get the best out of you?
Yeah, so the homework is really quite good, as it really reinforces any problems you might have had with any of the topics that you've covered, and and the homeworks and the quizzes that you get pretty much every week, they really push yourself to do the best that you can do in every aspect of the course. Okay,
so you would thoroughly recommend the course to others?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, thanks very much, Max. And I should say that Max did very well in the senior maths challenge as well. You got yourself a certificate as well, didn't you? So that was great. So what we'll do now is we'll leave a few minutes at the end for any questions that you've got. I'm going to put the slide up again that's got the details of the deadlines just there, and send that live. And so two of my colleagues, Wayne and Adriana, are available to take your chat calls. And thanks very much for listening. It's been a pleasure to give you an overview of the course, and I wish you a good evening. So bye.